Want to welcome you to the next episode of the Plugged In podcast. And today we have Nikita Bridan. Nikita is the CEO and co founder of Oilstainlab, which is a global automotive brand. Great to have you, Nikita, on today's show.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's always great. I mean, I must admit, I was telling my best friend James last night because he's an absolute petrol head. He works for Jaguar Land Rover, but he loves cars. And I showed him like your website and stuff like that. And I think he's really excited about this episode, maybe more than I am.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. We got to get back to the UK with our cars. That's still on the bucket list to get back to Goodwood. So can't wait.
And there is quite a bit of interest in the UK as well, isn't there, as well as America?
Yeah, I think in the UK there's a real sort of heritage of these sort of smaller brands, lightweight sports cars and stuff, and that's kind of where it all started with Lotus and Formula One and all that. So yeah, it's a big market for us, and we just love the culture there as well. Really, really love.
I wanted to ask you, from dropping out of school in the Ukraine to building Oilstainlab, what sort of mindset has really fueled your journey?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been kind of crazy. Yeah, born in Ukraine and raised in Canada. Dropped out of high school, studying in Italy, with meeting Giugiaro and Pininfarina and all those legends, and of course finishing studies in California. I think it gives us a different sort of worldly outlook, or we mix a lot of cultures. We pull from a lot of our experience in those countries, and then just in the process as well. So I think it gives us a little bit of an advantage in terms of just the variety of things that we can pull from and integrate into the product. And I think that's why it's so different than everything else. And obviously we're outside of corporate regulations and bosses and filters and clinics and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's nice having the freedom and the autonomy for sure to be able to shape and build and express your business the way that you want it. And how true it is, how we seem to find so much meaning in different cultures, and it's kind of crazy actually that where we're all actually born isn't fundamentally going to be make or break, but it does have a significant role to play. But I love the fact that the world is getting smaller, and we don't have to stay rooted to one spot. We can move, can't we?
Yeah, exactly. And even, I mean, yes, when you're born and obviously you grow up and there's cultures and everything associated with that. But I think the biggest problem, even in the industry, was you were anchored geographically, like where you lived, because of all the kind of confidentiality, the NDAs, and the team that you're working with. And I think after COVID, that really changed, at least in the auto industry, is like where now you could work with people on a global scale through digital tools and everything. And I think that's expanded the group of people as well. And we take full advantage of that. We work with a global team. It's not like everybody is sitting here in LA like it used to be. So it's great. Like we work with people in the UK, Scotland, Italy, of course, all over here, all over the US, Canada, etc. So I think, yeah, it's never been a smaller world in a way, in terms of smaller world, but access to more people. So a larger group of people that you can work with. And again, I think it's just going to lead to better products, and for the people that can organize those epic teams.
And you've worked with some major automotive brands as well. What would you say was some of the key lessons that maybe have shaped your approach today and how you're running All Stain Labs?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the most influential person it was before my brother and I. So I have a twin brother. We started the company together, went to school together, and we worked our first 4 years together in the industry. Originally we started Toyota, then went Honda, then we went our separate ways. I think the most influential person during that journey was actually Marek Georgievich. He was used to be chief designer at Rolls-Royce and did the Range Rover as well when they were owned by the BMW group. Yeah, I mean, I think he was the most influential in terms of crafting a complete story. And so storytelling is really important in what we do. I think anyone can build a car, anyone can build a product, build a restaurant, but it's that story, that human connection, getting people to buy in, get people to understand why you're doing what you're doing, get people to fundamentally care, sink their teeth into it, and get something out of it beyond just a product. I think so important. So he instilled us in college, and then we used that tool and well, I guess those tools throughout our careers. But in corporate world, it's amazingly talented people. So whenever an ugly car comes out, don't blame the design team, don't blame the engineering team. Everyone there is incredibly talented. We're super fortunate to have learned from everyone. The problem is just the corporate structure, right? The corporate structure is awful for bringing things to reality. It's horrible. It just kills everything. So I think the biggest lesson really was in how not to do things, or where there is opportunity based on the process, right? So yeah, again, fortunate to experience that.
Yeah, I think the storytelling and marketing is really interesting. I think one of the brands that I came across that I don't necessarily like the way that their car looks, but it's because they actually give it to the engineer first, so their focus is on its performance rather than how it looks. Whereas I think a lot of car brands, they start with how something looks and then hand it to the engineer and say make the engine fit into this. But one thing that I really liked about, and it was Subaru that I thought had a really good, distinct, clear message of who they were targeting, right? And I saw this with you as well because you were targeting maniacs. So I would love to know why you decided to target maniacs, because obviously that word itself will attract but also repel some people. I always find it really fascinating when some brands actually really niche themselves and saying we're for the maniacs.
Yeah, no, that's a great observation. I think yeah, Subaru's done a fantastic job cultivating that brand and that story and the customer base, and it goes directly into the product. You see the product, you're like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense, and they're doing great because of it. We obviously have a very different story than Subaru, as you alluded. Yeah, Maniacs. We originally struggled quite a bit with how to position ourselves in a very, let's say, congested but also aggressive performance environment and everything with all the other brands. It's everything's luxury, everything's performance, everything's speed, everything's about numbers. And we kind of wanted to get ourselves away from that. And I can't take any credit for this. This actually came with a person we work with, Rob Rutherford, who's an amazing copywriter based in New York City. We had met him working on some freelance projects for electric batteries. And he came up with basically this. He took what we were doing and kind of said, look, you guys have to use this one word. It's going to, like you said, it's going to piss off some people, but it's a filter, right? We don't want everybody to be part of this. We're very boutique. We're making 25 cars to start. It's a small number. And you want people to self-select, right? You want people to show initiative to be part of it. And we love taking words that are slightly negative and turning them, flipping them, and making it like a club or a thing to be proud of, right? So even our name, Oilstainlab, it's got the word stain in it, which to most people is a negative, but we've turned it, again, through storytelling and context, into something like, oh no, I wear my stains with pride, right? Like that shows that I'm doing things, I'm creating things, I'm making mistakes, but I'm evolving, right? There's progress. It's visual progress. And so same thing with Maniac, yes, they belong in an asylum, and that's exactly what we call the interior of our car. It's the asylum, right? It's the asylum from the crazy world outside, from the digital world, in this analog asylum. And so yeah, that's
Right.
part of our brand, is like flipping the context of words, but also using words that no one else is using because again, they're sort of perceived as slightly negative. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I
It's
like
really
that.
fun.
Yeah, because you know, journeys are messy, as well. Like it is. I like the fact that it kind of gets your attention, but it also is very liberating to know that you're not for everyone. Because I think that's the problem with a lot of businesses and products. It's almost like you're trying to appeal to everyone, and in doing so, you actually dilute yourself. I wanted to ask you about your HF11. You kind of touched on it earlier. I wanted to know, really, Nikita, how do you blend the 1960s heritage with like modern technology in the HF?
Yeah. So HF11, for those that don't know, is our launch vehicle. So the first production car, the one we're making 25 of, loosely based on a car we built over 3-4 years prior to that, called the Half 11, which ran Goodwood and everything, which was very much a 1960s tube frame, primitive, raw, visceral machine, like very raw. And yeah, so when we started thinking about doing a production car, we wanted to take exactly what you're talking about, the 1960s sort of nostalgia, the scale of the cars were much smaller then, the shapes were more romantic, they were less aggressive with wings everywhere and sort of very, aero was still or aerodynamics was still a black art back then. Like people didn't really know what aero was. They didn't really know what suspension was. Like it was still very much the wild wild west. A lot of experimentation and stuff. And so you want to take the spirit of what that was and bring it into today. So as opposed to what we've seen a lot of automakers do where they take the look of those cars but not the spirit, they'll take the look and then kind of stretch it over today's cars that are huge, that are, different volumes because of different structures that are required today, and kind of, plastic surgery it over these modern platforms. It's not really the spirit, right? The spirit of those cars was they were innovative, they were pushing the limits, and that is very much forgotten, I think, when people do retro. They just worry about the look of it, the shape of the fenders or the headlights. So what we wanted to do was take the spirit of that, put it over new technology, but use the new technology to still capture that spirit and then enable us to actually get closer to what those cars were. It's funny, as cars continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, but the technology is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So like, why are the cars getting bigger? We can use the technology to get back to where we were in the 60s. It's like cell phones. There was a
Mm.
period where they were tiny. Now they're huge. Now it's a notebook. Now it unfolds 3 times in your pocket. Like, it's crazy. So I think for us, it was really, again, try and capture the spirit of innovation, the minimalism of a lot of the forms, shapes, and experience. Because those cars, cars were newer, they were more special. You had to dress up, like you had to wear special clothes. It was a ceremony to go for a drive in these vintage race cars or sports cars, and that
Mm.
doesn't exist today. So we kind of want to bring back that as well. So again, it's a very cohesive thing, and we're able to do that because, again, we're out of the corporate structure. It's, we could just do whatever we want, and it's only for 25 people. So yeah.
What was maybe like the biggest challenge in creating the HF11, and how did you overcome that?
So many challenges. Every day is a new challenge. I think by far the biggest. So my brother and I, we've done a bunch of production cars and everything. We put cars on the road, but the biggest challenge was operating with such a small team. Small team, relatively small budget. At an OEM, you have blank check. You don't really think about anything. You're just like, yeah, let's go try that. Let's do this. Let's do that. And the checks they just auto clear. Here it's a little different. And with such a small team, we've had to build it out so everyone's kind of like a SWAT team member, special forces. Everyone knows a little bit about everything. Obviously, they have their specialties. And the carbon tub, the individual item that's caused the most headaches, is the carbon tub. That was actually something we hadn't had that much experience of in the OEM world because it's still relatively rare. But just the level of the number of steps that need to be cleared before you get to production is so much more compared to metal, because with metal you can weld, you can, use rivets or bond things to it. With carbon tub, once you send it, it's done. And all the expenses before basically you send it to create all the tooling and everything. And it is a lot of stress, a lot of engineering, a lot of details, a lot of very minute things. And then the manufacturing process is different too. So that's been a nightmare. Yeah. A dream that turned into a nightmare.
What would your advice be for innovators who want to turn their passion into a product? Because obviously, for you and your brother, you've done it, but it also gives you a headache, and it challenges you. So, what would be
Mm-hmm.
your best piece of advice for people that have like this idea, and actually really want to make it into something
Yeah.
long lasting?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the hardest part obviously is the first sort of step, which is to jump in and build something, do something, right? And then you've got to overcome so many things, whether it's self-doubt or your critics or a marketplace, and finding market fit and all that. So I think the way we did it, I mean, obviously it's a very ambitious project, and there's financial risks and everything involved. Is we started doing this while we had effectively sort of day jobs or other jobs. And what that enabled us to do was, first of all, de-risk it. But by de-risking it, you open up the freedom to pursue what it is that you actually want to pursue and to build what it is that you believe in, as opposed to trying to get something to market quick enough to make money so that you can make something self-sustaining. So it's a slightly longer path, but I think it leads to truly compelling, interesting, and different projects if you're able to de-risk the initial phase. And also it proves to yourself that, like, look, I'm working on this after hours, like I've done my 8 hours at work. Now I'm doing this. This is my true passion. I love it. And, as soon as this day job's gone, I'm going to pour 16, 20 hours into this every day. And I think that's how great products are made personally. There's got to be some pain, but de-risk it as much as possible to enable freedom to build that dream, right?
Yeah. A little bit like re-engineering, it's kind of working backwards, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah, yeah.
Controlled chaos and building machines outside time and place. How do you define that philosophy in practical engineering terms?
Yeah, so I mean, when we say that, we allude to the fact that things are timeless. So, sort of in the 1950s, post war America, we get this new thing that starts to get developed in sort of product design, industrial design, vehicle design, and it's called obsolescence, right? Planned obsolescence. We see it now with phones and everything. You get 2 years, then the phone basically slows down. It's all designed into the journey, right? And so everything is time to time out. And we hate that. We absolutely hate that. Our whole goal was to build something that is going to be timeless across, a long time. It's like a house. You don't every 2 years you don't buy a new house. Like that's not how it works, right? You have families that live in the same house for generations. And so we want to do the same thing. That changes the way you engineer things. It changes the way you think about modularity, you think about technology, the way things are evolving, how can you upgrade it? And so you're creating more of a system and a platform rather than a vehicle that looks good. Of course it looks good, but that's not the only thing that matters, basically. So it's a much deeper approach on the engineering, technology, future proofing, and modularity side than I think most car companies care about, because they just care about short-term sales.
I love the way that you're building this. It's very different and refreshing. And yeah, I like that. I think that's what really makes it stand out, as well as the fact that it is a really good looking car as well. Like, I love the orange and the red. Like, it's very, like, it very much captures like your imagination. It's kind of exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you. Glad you like it. But it's exciting to hear it even from people that aren't just, sort of your traditional car guys or, supercar buyers. I think again, we've tried to sort of make it this universal thing and think about like what everyone's inner child would love to see. And that's the best part with our cars, like when they drive by and you just see a kid just lose his mind. And usually the parents are like, close your eyes, don't look at it. But it's for the kids, right? Like we say, never grow up.
Nikita, I've only got like a one moment left. Have you got anything else you want to share as we bring this into conclusion?
No, not too much. I mean, yeah, I think we're just excited to keep building it, and next year burn some rubber and get it over to the UK, and yeah, burn some more rubber. So yeah, it's a fun journey.
Sounds good. I've really enjoyed, yeah, just having some time with you talking about All Stain Labs, and I wish you and your brother all the very best with it.
Appreciate it, man. It's been a pleasure.